Okay, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Please allow me to introduce myself. My name is Briley, and I will be hosting today's last session of the day, the third session. And also, there is Ika, Miss Ika Nurlaila, as the session chair that will guide that will guide and moderate the discussion that we will be having on the third session today. So, this session is comprised of a total of 6 papers, 6 different participants, and the order of presentation. I have shared the order of the presentation on the chat box. All of you, if you want to see, you can check the chat box or you can check your handbook. And also the system of this presentation is I will play a video that each one of you have sent to the committee, and then all of you will have a total of 3 minutes total time for question and answer. Okay, that is from me. We, us from the EcoBar committees, wish you an insightful and a fruitful discussion and presentation. Ms. Ika, the floor is yours. Please let me know if you are ready to play the presentation. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Ika Nurlaila, right now working for BDSRC, if you know that, in Bina Nusantara University. So I'm delightful to be a chair for today's afternoon sessions. So without wasting our time, so this is the first presenter, incorporating gamification into video-based learning. So the table is yours for Dr. David Bourne.
Yes, hello. Thank you.
Hi, thank you for watching my presentation at this EcoBar conference. My name is David Bourne and I am a faculty member of the English department at Bina Nusantara University. In this talk, I'll talk about my paper, and the topic of the paper is about gamification and how to incorporate gamification components in video learning. I'll cover 4 points for you. In the first point, I'll tell you the overview of my research paper. I'll talk about the rationale for using gamification in video-based learning. I'll suggest some tips that might be useful for you if you're interested in making your videos gamified. And I'll give you an excerpt of an example video that I created trying to apply some of these ideas from the paper. Let's start with the overview then. Here are the research questions that I had for the paper. Number 1, the question was, how can gamification be applied in video-based learning content for distance learning? And question number 2, how might adult learners in Indonesia respond to attempts to combine gamification and video-based learning? I should also give you a definition of gamification: the use of game mechanics and experience to digitally engage and motivate people to achieve their goals. Obviously, we need to be clear about what game elements are. I would say common elements include badges, points, statistics, meaning scores, a record of how a gamer is performing, and levels. Let's move on to the rationale now. And a big question is, why should we take notice of gamification? What's the point? The main point is that doing this is going to attract learners and make your video lessons stand out in a different way. Here is some information about gaming. Gaming increases learning. It's very popular. Apparently, in 2018, the gaming industry was worth $5.5 billion US. We can also see lots of learning platforms on the market. For example, we have Udemy, Coursera, Skillshare, and many others that I'm sure you are aware of. This is a sign of how important video-based learning is. Now, if we can add game elements to the videos, we're going to add an extra piece of value and for the learners. It should also be mentioned that with the greater emphasis on learning from home nowadays, certainly video-based learning is becoming more and more important. I'd also like to add some thoughts from Tony Robbins. What came across my mind was that in many ways computer games act in a way to satisfy these human needs that Tony Robbins talks about. For example, we have the need for certainty, and that is the assurance that a person can avoid pain and gain pleasure. On the other hand, there is also the need for uncertainty or variety. Another need is that of significance. We want to feel unique, important, special, or needed. And there is the need for connection or love, which I think is fairly clear. And finally, another need I would like to identify is a need for contribution. Now, the reason I mention these needs is that if you imagine someone playing a computer game, often computer games can satisfy many of these needs. For example, there is certainty in that it is just a game, everything is going to be all right while you're playing the game. But there is also uncertainty, the different levels and scenarios that the game provides to the player give that uncertainty. I have spent some time producing videos. I've produced a number of courses on Udemy, for example, and through this experience I did start thinking about how I can make my videos a little bit more unique and different to some of the other presenters and course designers that are on these platforms. And this led me into the idea of gamification. From this experience and the research I put into writing the paper, I'd like to suggest a few tips on how to apply some game elements into your video lessons. These tips come in the form of a checklist of questions. What are the game elements of my platform? When I say my platform, I mean where is your video going to be hosted? The next question is, where can I keep them guessing? And this is a strategy that you can use. Games, of course, have this idea of expectation, of guessing what's happened, what's going to happen next. Is there an opportunity for flashcards? Learning through flashcards is a whole topic in itself. And the next question is, where can I use categorization? By categorization, I'm talking about setting up the opportunity to match Group A with Group B, Group C and Group D. And this is one way to gamify your content, where you divide your content into different categories that need to be matched. So the viewer needs to watch the video and do the matching themselves. The next thing to ask is, what meaning can I give to my video? This is helping the students understand why they are watching the video and what value your video will give to them. And the last question is, how can I visualize the concept? All right, I'd like to show you excerpts from a gamified video that I made. All right, how did you do? Did you get 5 out of 5? I hope so. Let's look at the final scores now, shall we? All right. So, count up your total scores for all of these questions. How did you do? Did you get between 9 and 11 points? All right, I hope you found that interesting, and you can see that it doesn't have to be too complicated. There is a lot more to be said about this topic, and I can't cover everything in one small paper like this. My purpose here was to raise the idea and make some suggestions. I'll just summarize the points I've covered here. I've told you about the overview of my paper. I've talked about why video learning and gamification are becoming more and more important. We've looked at some tips that might help you to consider gamification in your videos, and I've shown you a short example of something that I produced trying to put these ideas into practice. A few points to conclude. I think the first point to make is that video learning and computer games are not exactly the same thing. I'm not saying you need to produce some kind of PlayStation 5 piece of art that has amazing graphics and surround sound and all the rest of it. That's impossible. Just keep it simple, and a few bits and pieces in your video just add a little bit of extra interest. Another thing we should remember is that games involve interaction. Videos, there is really no interaction. The only interaction we can hope for is if students write things down and come to the video with a pen and a piece of paper, and they will write their responses. An important point to make is that students will generally respond positively to this kind of innovation. Finally, I would say that it does take some experimentation. Just give it a try. If it doesn't work in your video, look at it, decide what went wrong, and then see if you can improve it for your next video lesson. It's also a good idea to be aware of any of the software packages or the features in PowerPoint or Keynote, for example, that will help you to make your content more game-like. Okay, that is the end of my talk. I hope it has given you some ideas about how to incorporate gamification into your learning-based videos. Thank you for your attention.
So we have 20 participants here. Anyone want to have feedback with David? Hiya, you can. What is it? Can everyone just speak?
Okay, can you hear me? Yeah.
Yeah, sure.
Good.
Let's go then.
So I'm ready to answer any questions.
2 minutes given? Anyone? Okay, no one. So I got my own question for you. So
Okay.
it was so excellent, especially for me because I'm so game person, so I enjoyed it. But however, do you happen to what to say, measure the difference between those who just got like conventional learning and those who already applied the video gamification as you have? Maybe you can associate all these students have a higher outlook in terms of scores or something like their study academic performance, basically.
Yeah. That's a good point, Ika. The answer is in this paper I didn't do that, but certainly it would be an interesting idea to do a comparison like that for sure. Yeah, and it's something that's worth looking at going forward.
Yeah. Anyone? Okay. I think no more questions for David, but that's what's so good.
All right.
I enjoyed your presentation. So
time is limited as well, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. For only 10 minutes presentation. So, but I believe you have done a lot more than what you have presented today. Okay. Thank you so much. And then we're gonna move on. Thank you so much. And we're gonna move on to the second presenter. Here is Ms. Maria Serafina Astriani. Are you here now? Okay.
Hello. Thank you for having me. It is an honor to be here with you today. My name is Maria Serafina Astriani. Now, I'm going to be speaking to you about low power consumption fall detection using 3 features. Elderly population increased significantly, and there are many critical challenges, especially in developed countries, for healthcare and monitoring system area. The increase of longevity rates have played a part to the elderly and thus medical needs. Time limitations are often seen as the main cause of the absence of people accompanying elderly, for example, family, friends, caregiver, and so on. To facilitate continuous monitoring and to address the need of healthcare, non-invasive, affordable, easy to use, and non-invasive healthcare solutions are becoming increasingly important. Healthcare solutions using spatial device or spatial sensor that can detect human activities, which can be carried along with them, is critically needed. By growing demand to produce the electronic device with spatial sensor and method to detect fault, it can pose a risk to the environment for using a lot of materials, electricity to run the factory, pollution, and it can contribute to global warming. Green computing encompasses the practice of environmentally manufacturing, operating, recycling, and disposing of computers and electronic devices sustainably in the ICT sector. The recycling of electronic waste and equipment is important not only for reducing the amount of waste required for treatment, but also for promoting the recovery of valuable material. We propose a low power consumption human fall detection as a solution to overcome 2 problems, healthcare and environment, by using the device that already been existed to reduce the electronic waste. Smartphone is one of the best candidates for this solution because it easily can be found in our daily life, portable, has sensors to detect the motion, and it has been accepted by elderly. Accelerometer, GPS, and gyroscope sensors available on smartphone can maximally empowered as a communication tool and to detect human activities. By maximizing its potential, We can give an extra life to smartphone to be reused and reduce electronic waste. The low power consumption human detection that we propose can work on smartphones that have low central processing unit power specification and can achieve fast processing times. Various kinds of mathematical formulas which aim to detect human fall movement can be combined to produce methods with better accuracy. The focus on this experiment is to determine the feature by using AX, AY, AZ, GX, GY, and GZ as the inputs and determining the threshold value to be able to produce good accuracy. We propose a low power consumption fall detection method that consists the combination of three features: signal vector magnitude with modification, LM, and tilt angle change. All these features are based on mathematical formula. The three features are then trained to get the threshold with the highest true positive, TP, and the lowest false positive, FP. The proposed method can be implemented on smartphone as a system and it becomes an in-house specialist. If the method analyzes the data from accelerometer and gyroscope sensors and classify it as a fall, smartphone can inform family, relative, caregiver, or to the person been registered before. Dataset. Raw time series data were captured using smartphone from accelerometer and gyroscope. Each sensor has X, Y, and Z axes, containing a total of 6 axes. The data were classified and labeled into two classes, fall and non-fall. 252 data used in training to determine the threshold, which consists of 84 fall and 168 non-fall data. Experimental design. The research was carried out in indoor area. Data were captured by smartphone using constrained or fixed smartphone orientation. The experiment using the data from 4 non-fall activities and 2 fall activities. The proposed low power consumption fall detection method trained by using computer to calculate the threshold of 3 features based on mathematical formulas. The ROC curve is needed to determine the best threshold to get the highest accuracy. After the threshold determined, the proposed method that consists of 3 features based on mathematical formula, signal vector magnitude with modification, LM, and tilt angle change, training and voting is used to determine the result and sum by using confusion matrix. Accuracy of the proposed method is calculated by using accuracy formula. It can reach 0.97 for the accuracy result. To compare the result gained from the proposed method, other experiments been conducted. Based on the other research, the dataset trained by using signal vector magnitude, it commonly used and only used an accelerometer, and the accuracy result is 0.76. The proposed method can boost the accuracy result up to 0.21, which is very important because if someone fallen and not been detected as fall, people will be at very high risk. The approximately time to process one data is good, fast to give fall or non-fall result. It's under 1 second, even though signal vector magnitude is the fastest one, but people will not realize the difference between 0.0006 and 0.0008 second. Low power consumption means the model can provide the result by using the device that have low CPU power specification, and smartphone is one of them. Based on PC Magazine article, the baseline of RAM is 4 GB. By using 4 GB of RAM and 1.6 GHz of processor, the method can process one set of data from accelerometer and gyroscope sensor in approximately 0.0008 seconds. The approach on the proposed method must be able to provide the result within approximately 1 second after the set of data is ready to be analyzed by the method. Based on the approximately time to process one set of data in seconds, The proposed result promisingly has time to process less than 1 second to provide the result which can work on low power device. It means smartphone. The proposed solution can be implemented on smartphone as a system. If the method analyzes the data from accelerometer and gyroscope sensor and classify it as full, smartphone activate GPS to get the location and send the information to the person being registered before. The information can be sent by SMS and voice call. If the method classifies the data as non-full, smartphone will continue to read the data from the sensors and analyze it using the method. I would like to conclude all things. Healthcare and monitoring system to detect fall is needed for people who need special treatments and elderly because it will mitigate post-fall incident problems. Smartphone is a suitable device to detect human fall because it has various sensors, in example, accelerometer, gyroscope, and GPS, already been accepted by most of the people, and can reduce the electronic waste by giving a smartphone a second chance to become a healthcare and monitoring system. The combination of three features based on mathematical formula on the proposed low power consumption fall detection method has a better accuracy, 0.21, than signal vector method and can work on the smartphone, low power device. It means green computing. Thank you very much.
Of this green computing instead of using the smartwatch, which is also popular. From what I know of, the use of smartwatch, which can detect heart rate or whether you got stress or not, things like that. So maybe you can explain further.
Okay, yeah. Thank you very much. So that is very interesting question. So we already know that green computing perhaps encompasses the practice of environmentally manufacturing, operating, recycling, and disposing of computer and electronic device. Why in here I choose smartphone? Because most of the people already have smartphone instead of smartwatch. Yeah, we already know that smartwatch can be pricey. So why don't we maximize the potential in the smartphone? Because inside the smartphone already have a lot of sensor. For example, accelerometer, gyroscope, GPS, and so on. So why don't we maximize those of sensors? Instead of we encourage people to buy the other device, for example, smartwatch, yeah, because yeah, it's pricey, and perhaps people do not have that already. Yeah, perhaps we already know about this term in our daily life: reduce, reuse, and recycle. So in here, I would like to maximize the potential in smartphone for reuse. Yeah, I mean, I would like to give the smartphone the second chance instead of people throwing their smartphone because they do not want to use it anymore. Why don't we give the smartphone extra life for that one? So it can become a human fall detection, and it can reduce the electronic waste by giving them a second chance to become healthcare and monitoring system. Because we already know, if we burn the electronic device, e-waste can produce toxin, for example, hydrogen chloride and so on. Okay, I think that's all.
Yeah, one more question is for myself. Anyone else before I draw my own question? So I'm wondering does it do exactly to say that my smartphone tell me that in the last month I have fallen for 10 times? Does it suggest me something or tell me about what's going on superficially for my health?
Yeah. Thank you. So sorry, I think my internet connection is not good. Sorry. Yeah. So research, yeah, if someone falls, the system will give the alert. Yeah. Are you okay or not? Yeah. If you do not okay, the system will trigger, will have look on your location using GPS sensor and will trigger the will trigger some communication features. For example, will send the SMS or call the relative that been registered to that system. Yeah, currently the system will do, yeah, but for the future they will log on every activity. So perhaps we can share the information with the doctor and the doctor can suggest us, for example, you need to take some treatment, something like that. Okay, yeah,
that's gonna be helpful. Thank you so much, Bu Maria. So, is there anyone else who want to ask? No? Okay. We're running out of time. Thank you, Bu Maria. And we are going to next presenters. Bapak Wahyu Sarjono. That was yours. Carry on, Bapak.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Wahyu Sarjono from Master of Management Information System, BINUS Graduate Program, BINUS University. For the first time, I'm appreciate to ECOBAR committee to arrange this conference and to give me time to present our paper. Designing of IT Master Plan based on TOGA PDAM framework in the Regional Water Utility Company, PDAM. Paper number ID 3129. With me, with our team reform, Mahatpira Wijayanto. The background of the paper and the research is that usually there is an official agency to implement it that's selected by government authority, such as water utility company in the residency areas, in order to provide water resource, process the quality, distribute to the customer, and ensure the water could be consumed, provide correct matter reading, billing, and other services. That is the sum process business or business process at the water utility company. And usually the organization of that company is very difficult to control that product and that process, especially at the government organization. So in the paper, we try to analyze or to evaluate what is the implement the information technology at the organization. Enterprise architecture is a plan design of system and project that will be developed by a company. In the process of developing it, the company used the enterprise architecture framework in order to be able to describe the infrastructure base of the plan of the providing planning of the system hardware to run according to plan. Follow some reference. And the second one, according to Naomi, enterprise architecture is an approach to manage, plan, and develop companies and IT system as a unit analysis, a company of organization. Enterprise architecture is defined in several ways, most often as a comprehensive view of the whole organization that is an interconnected and networked with the several information systems, perhaps in two different countries. What is and what needs to be done? Research framework, starting the literature study, and then we tried to looking for the problem or problem identification, and also establish a research objective, and so on, until to evaluate the business sector, information system architecture, and also in technology architecture. And then we tried to develop the solution concept and IT master plan or blueprint. Value chain. Value chain is representation is the business process. Referring from the Michael Porter, the value chain is divided two activities, primary activity and supporting activity, starting from the inbound logistic, operation, outbound logistic, marketing and sales and services. And that is especially for product type, consumer good, not services. And supporting activity, you can see the procurement, technology development, human resource management, and farm infrastructure. Between the activities, primary activity and supporting activity work together to achieve firm added value or profit or image and also a competitive advantage. Every business has a value chain. So, the summary of company architecture aspect on business information system and technology, we can describe baseline condition, target improvement, and ITS solution partner. Business plan must be aligned with IT plan. And this is for detail. So, we also see IT architecture landscape. It's also very important because when we are talking about the IT architecture, we must talk about the platform, IT component, and also people, and also IT resource. For detail and that organization, we can describe like as the figure, enterprise dashboard and report, especially the water utilization. So the IT architecture or IT infrastructure at the end must be support the all of application of business or business process at the organization. IT architecture platform. In detail, we can see the client interface area, network area, application integration area. Most important, also database. All of that must be integrated, and don't forget with people, because IT infrastructure without people is very impossible. People is the first. We must be concentrate in that. Also the process, how to use the information system, and then the technology. So we try to IT architecture platform. And then IT governance and also measurement the performance. The benefit diagram, very detailed, we can see about the environmental aspect, key performance indicator, and also service excellence. Usually, we also implement the IT performance. And don't forget to use the IT balance scorecard with 4 perspectives. Starting from the first, corporate contribution, user orientation, and then operation excellence, and also user excellence. Starting from that concept of IT performance, you can construct and find some factor and indicator and also some statement to build the key performance indicator until we can get the benefit of the information system or how to ITS can be contribute to the organization. The conclusion can be drawn from the result of this case study conducted through the TOGAP organization approach as the first targeted condition to automated integrate company. Business process has been achieved with the enterprise architecture planning produced in according with established architecture principle and following management requirements. Based on the discussion on the baseline architecture condition result that for data architecture, sources of data are identified that are used for business process need were found data source duplication that cause data to overlap or redundant. For application architecture, there is no integration mechanism in the existing application. And for technology architecture, there is no implementation of data center or DRC management infrastructure, data backup, data restore, data warehouse, as well as security management and data access authentication. And relation with sustainable development, that means we can use the IT, the information system, information technology can be evaluated to influence the business, to support the business process more effective and efficient until to competitive advantage. That is factor from sustainable development. The first, we are talking about social aspect. That means talking about the people. And then we're talking about the economic aspect. We're talking about the calculation or valuation. And the last one, we're talking about the environment aspect. So we can implement the information system and information technology can be influenced to the environment aspect. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Wahyu, for your presentation. Again, welcoming any question, if any, from the participants. It was so nice, though. Okay. What I can highlight, and I love the most about your presentation, but when you said infrastructure without people is, I can add some a word. Infrastructure without people is destruction, actually. Because yeah, we orchestrate anything just to improve the human life and welfare. According the aim of your study, which is providing correct metro reading, billing, and other services in terms of water service, but I haven't seen about the actual implementation of your enterprise architecture, just to, for example, to how that your design can save people for not wasting money to pay a lot for water consumption, which they might be not using it, but somehow there's some leakage in the metro reading or things like that. Maybe you can address it, Pak. Hello? Are you still there? Okay. Right. I haven't seen any response from Pak Wahyu, but let me keep the question. And shall we move on to next presenter?
Hello, thanks.
Hello, Billy.
I have problem about the network connection.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Right. So, yeah. So we.
Hello, I think I'm sorry. You hear me?
Yeah. Sure, Pak.
Oh yeah. So maybe any question?
Oh yeah. Oh, sorry. The question came from myself actually, but I can repeat it for you. About the aim, which you said that to provide a correct metro reading, billing, and other services in terms of water use, water consumption, and from your enterprise architecture, what I haven't seen clearly is how your orchestrations for how your design can save people. Say we can narrow down to Indonesia people to save their money for not paying water they then use just because there are some leakage in the metro reading something.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah, we talk about the water utility, especially related with information technology. So it's not too public, yeah, because usually at the organization government especially, it's very difficult to implement the information technology, and we try to how to develop the IT master plan to support the government when they try to serve the community. Usually, government is very difficult to control that product, to control the water for when we are talking about the services to citizen or community. Just around that one. And we take the sample from at the Makassar in Indonesia. We talk about the PDAM, perusahaan daerah air minum. Just an example to how to implement, how to make the IT blueprint or to support that services. Just it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Pak Wahyu.
Anything else? Oh,
sorry,
maybe it's not clear.
Sorry.
Yeah. Anything else, or maybe
we have run out of time for your session, so we shall move on to next presenter.
Okay.
Sorry for that.
Yeah.
It's okay. It's okay. We acknowledge that. Shall we move on to the next presenter?
Hello everyone, we are beyond pleased to get
to present our current study, which most likely relate to people in majority because we are now fighting it together, and unfortunately, globally, it crossed our mind that it would be great if we could contribute things within our expertise. Thus, in this very chance, we are presenting our study entitled The Lockdown Strategy Wildlife, the Shared Modeling in COVID-19 Outbreak in Indonesia. Contributed in the making are Alam Ahmad Hidayat and Bapak Ben Perdamaian and myself. The coronavirus disease 19, also known as COVID-19, is highly transmittable, and it is also pathogenic viral infection caused by severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2 SARS-CoV-2. It is phylogenetically related to the previous outbreak. The cause of previous outbreak, if you remember, that it was a SARS-CoV that it was very happening too, but not as severe as the current one. And however, the mortality rate of SARS-CoV-2, the previous version, was actually much higher than the COVID-19. Why it is hard or difficult to make it under control? Because as we have acknowledged together that it initially come from bat, the animal bat, and then transfect human through the daily consumption, because that's what was happening in Wuhan, China. That's very common, I believe. And then from human to another human, because there is in society we cannot avoid to get socialized, to communicate with each other without any physical distancing that we are now experiencing. And however, even though that's initially in Indonesia, it was initially identified around March or something, but up to date, there is no excellent outlook in terms of the discovery of finding for antiviral or drug to overcome it. So that's why we have a much deeper concern about the transmitted by COVID-19 nationally. Slide. It is about the test coverage that yet to be escalated, as we all know that in Indonesia the test coverage only by not one. There may be some escalation today, but not really higher than that. So not by not one means among 100 people, only one person get a chance to be tested, and for having the result itself, it's gonna be taking long time. Also, the second point is about the data that seem to be poorly organized, and so far regarding COVID-19, what we have are the numbers of deaths, the number of new cases, and the number of recovered patients. Of course, we need more than that. Maybe are those dead patients were having another disease which is degenerative or stuff. We haven't had any updated about it unless we ourselves initiatively look for it. And of course, because of those three aforementioned, the problem is about the mathematical modeling, which is considerably poor. Of course, this makes sense because we don't have a lot of integrated data. How come we can generate with mathematical modeling? What it costs if we cannot sort that out? The consequences might be inevitably unaffordable because it's something to do with people's life, and they might be in the productive ages that cause reduce national productivity if we cannot overcome it fully. What we have to make our model formulating COVID-19 to help any relevant stakeholder to formulate proper interventions is it was actually considerably easy to get because our data was obtained from Indonesia COVID-19 Task Force, Gugus COVID website, with the period from 9 March 2020 to 29 April 2020. Why 9 March? Actually, we have our first patient confirmed to have COVID-19 was 2nd March 2020. However, in terms of the number of death, the number of recovered patients, there are some missing data that we cannot make a proper model of it. So that's why we try to draw it pretty much later, and that is why we pick 9 March 2020 as our initial date of data collections. Also, we consider about the social contact matrices for Indonesia population. We get it from RAM. It was outstanding paper that we modify. Actually, we modify our model, our current model from papers, and also we stratify the age structure information based on population pyramid.net. You all can have a look about the data, the most current data, and from this point it resulted that age distribution 16 before 16 age distribution of Indonesian population, which later will affect the result of our analysis. And E here, genome exposed, mean the people, the population that exposed already to the COVID-19, and that's mean they have infection within the body. Although the equations seem to be separated from different age stratification, the interactions between different age group is actually described by this lambda, containing the social contact matrices formulated from below. These denote the social contact matrices, which consist of four aspects. Depends on the environment they get, where the social contact occur. H here indicate home, and S here to represent the social contact within the schools, and W here to denote social contact in the workplace, and O here indicate other than these three aforementioned. In order to obtain the parameters beta, gamma, E, gamma, A, gamma, W, and delta, we must feed the Indonesia COVID-19 data into our model. We therefore need to minimize an error function, which divided by where we employ a difference between the predicted cumulative numbers of active COVID-19 cases and the real active cases, as well as the difference between the predicted number of death and the number of real death. All calculations were done from the data from 9 March 2020 to 26 April 2020. After doing all this computation, we obtain these following feed parameters, and these parameters will be used to predict the number of COVID-19 cases after 26 April. We use 4 stages of COVID-19 pandemic in Indonesia, where the last stage corresponds to our prediction after 26 April. First, from 9 March 2020 until 16 March 2020, the early stage of confirmed cases, there wasn't any intervention on that date range. all socials mixing across ages in public places still took place, and therefore the F equals to 1 if you see at this stage 1. And next, stage 2, where Indonesia's government implemented first initial total school closure, which could be assumed to be implemented across countries and also only suggested workplace closure and maintaining a physical distance in public spaces. Formulating it in our case, this means FS will be 0. FS is 0, and we assume that only 50% of the workplace were shut down. So the FW here become 0.75, and the public suggestion only close 80% of public spaces. So F4 here become 0.8. And then what about stage 3? Stage 3, as the pandemic worsened, so the government took a more serious strict measure called PSBB, large-scale physical distancing, with the intention to end the virus spread in public spaces and order the workplace to get closer immediately. We assume that 75% of working from home, so means FW here only 0.25, and 50% of other public places will also close, means FO here 0.5 until 26 April, which is our last data point. The final stage, which is what we propose, where the strict measure, the total lockdown is low force to the people, to the citizen. This stage ideally closes public spaces, so FO become no, and only allows for 10% workplaces. Only allow for 10% workplaces open, such as the hospital, market, supermarket, shop for essential needs, assuming FW here only 0.1. We separated that 3 lockdown scenarios based on the 3 different starting dates of the lockdown, with a period of 45 days will result to when scenario 1 is implemented, which means the total lockdown implemented immediately, and scenario 2 1 week delay after 26 April 2020, and the scenario 3 2 week delay. What are the consequences? When a week delay, so we will have another 5,000 new cases, and when it is also delayed for another week, that's gonna be 20,000 new cases, which is very, very high number, and we may not afford it, because it's something to do with our economical status as well. Taking all together, having said all of those, so what we can suggest that lockdown, even though with our local wisdom, should be a best option to have mitigation of the COVID-19 outbreak in Indonesia. Thank you very much for the attention. Question or welcome. Thank you. Okay, I didn't expect that's gonna be too long. So any question about what the presenter have. How many data? I use? Okay, I'm going to read the question first. How many data that we use for my text, image, and or other format? Is there any data pre-processing? Perhaps you don't need all of the information given from dataset source. Actually, what we using, we can have a look to the wordmeta.com, because they put update about COVID-19 around across the globe. So we just extract the number. Actually, they provide CSV file of each day, whatever day you want to have a look. But then we decided to have the numbers, and then jot down like manually from 2nd March 2020 to 26th April. So that's pretty much simple, to be honest. So we only have those 2 weeks data set in. We actually have extracted Asian countries. However, when we put the modeling, that's gonna be so trembling around, so that's scattered everywhere, like the data is too much. So we narrowed down only in Indonesia, and that's fit, especially because our concern as well. We sort of hard to believe what have announced every single afternoon recently. So we put that model to demonstrate this might demonstrate a more real fact that is happening right now, rather than what have been announced. So yeah, that's our data set. And this is still open, so everyone can have a look to create another model.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah.
Lovely. Anything else? But I don't think I can have another question, because we are running out of time. So we are going to move on the next presenter. So I will let Ms. Audrey Kreisler. So correct me if I misspell your name. Audrey Kreisler.
Yes, miss.
Table is yours.
Greetings. My name is Audrey Kreisler, and I will be representing our current research on mobile application to track people in COVID-19, monitoring patients under COVID-19 supervision. What is coronavirus? So coronavirus, or also known as the COVID-19, has been recognized and identified as the severe acute respiratory syndrome coronavirus 2, which is a virus that belongs to the Coronaviridae family. Coronaviruses are zoonotic, meaning that they are transmitted between animals and people, and also they're able to transmit from human to human virus transmission, which is similar to the SARS and the MERS coronavirus. COVID-19 also has a 2% fatality that may result in death due to respiratory failure and alveolar damage for patients who have underlying conditions prior to being infected with coronavirus. As for symptoms for the COVID-19, there are 3 different types of symptoms. There's most common or less common symptoms, and also serious symptoms when infected with the COVID-19. The most common one is to have a high fever, a dry cough, or excessive tiredness. As for the less common symptoms are aches and pains, having a sore throat, diarrhea, conjunctivitis, headache, a loss of taste or smell, a rash on skin, or discoloration of finger and toes. For serious symptoms, there are also difficulty breathing or shortness of breath, chest pain or pressure, and loss of speech or of movement. As for the COVID-19 transmission, it can be transmitted from human to human through a direct or indirect contact, droplet spray in short-range transmission, such as when an infected person coughs or sneezes, that can also be transmitted, and also aerosol in long-range transmission, which is airborne transmission, which also can happen during when a person is sneezing or coughing. As of the 30th of January 2020, the World Health Organization, WHO, stated COVID-19 as an international sixth public health emergency, and they also officially named the coronavirus that occurs late December as COVID-19 to avoid stigmatization. With the pandemic happening, the community, including the health workers and the government, needs to collaborate globally to prevent the spread of COVID-19. Where now, the government has given the health department directors the authority that impose a law enforcing people to self-quarantine for the safety and to prevent the spread of COVID-19 itself. As for the quarantine in Indonesia, where in Indonesia itself a lockdown is not implemented, the government have given the authority to order patients to self-quarantine. However, it is not effective nor efficient, as some patients refuse to be quarantined at the hospital and requested to be quarantined at their own home. It may be an alternative, but it is reported that some patients who requested to be quarantined at their own home, it is reported that they are not thoroughly conducting a safe self-isolation and could risk other people to be infected with COVID-19 by going outside of their own home, despite the doctor's order to self-isolate themselves. As for our proposed idea, is to create an application that will be able to assist and tackle the problems that occurs during this pandemic. And hopefully by developing an application that will be able to send alerts and informations regarding patients with novel COVID-19 or patients that are under surveillance or confirmed patients within the radius of 5 meters would be able to help during this pandemic itself. And the Indonesian government divides COVID-19 patients into 3 different types, which is ODP, PDP, and confirmed patients. As for ODP, which is people under monitoring, which is basically a person who have a fever above 38 degrees Celsius or upper respiratory tract infection, URTI, without pneumonia and had a historical trip to infected areas of COVID-19, as well as PDP, which is patients under supervision. This is the application scenario design of the application. Once the user has logged in to their account in the application, they will store the user's data in the database, where the application will send information and guidelines of how to utilize the application itself, and where the application will send users geolocation to the server every time they open the application, so that in the server there will be an updated geolocation of each users, where the system will track and see if there are people around that is an ODP, PDP, or a confirmed patient. Well, their system will require user to access the application every hour to update their location, so that it would always be accurate, and the system itself will be able to send alerts to other people that are around ODP, PDP, or confirmed patients. And as for the geolocation of each user will be monitored and will be sent directly to the server of the health minister, so that they would be able to compare and see if the patients that are under surveillance are actually doing the self-isolation. And if not, the application will be able to deliver a proper alert and information regarding ODP, PDP, and confirmed patients within within a radius of 2 to 5 meters, or when users have not updated their location within an hour, which means that within the hour, if they did not update or open the application, they will receive an alert that says that they are required to open the application to log in back, so that they will have the updated geolocation of each patient. This is the use case diagram of the application, where after the user login, the application will require the users to turn on their GPS so that automatically every time they access the application, it will update the user's geolocation that will be sent directly to the health minister, and where the system will track and send alerts regarding patients that are within the radius to each users. And also for the system will give notification for users that have not updated their geolocation within an hour, so they will be alert that says that they need to update by opening the application itself. And this is the further explanation of each process that is in the use case diagram of the application. And for the prototype, so for the prototype itself, the main menu will, as for the main menu, it will first show the data accumulation of the infected patients, the patients who died, who was treated, and who have recovered, as well as the daily data of per day and also the global data. And when we click the see details of the data accumulation, it will show us the list of different areas of the city, as well as the number of recovered, treated, patients who have died, and the total cases in the specific area. As for the global data, it will show the different countries and its recovered and patients who have died and the total infected. As well as for the daily data itself, it will be including the infected, the patients who have died, the patients who are treated, and the patients who have recovered. And thank you for your attention.
Lovely boy. It's a prominent explanation for this prototype. So, question welcome. No. So let me check the chat first. No one asked, but I'm sure they have a lot in mind to be asked.
Yes.
So I came to, because it seems that the prototype relies on people to input their data. Correct me if I'm wrong, right? So what can you do to prevent the input of falsified data? For example, I got your application.
Yes,
I don't have COVID, but I just want to play around. So I put my symptom like, oh, I got cough, I have fever, it's been days, and above 38 degrees Celsius or stuff, and then your application would assign me as positive people. So automatically they will what the application should do, it will alert other users to, you don't come closer to Ika because she has now having COVID or something.
Yes, Miss. As for the confirmed patients or the patients under surveillance, it is using the data from all the hospitals that enables to check if they do have COVID or not. And that is where they would have more of a legit, like if they have the symptoms or if they are true that they are infected or not. So, and if they do, they will be alerted, like from the application.
I mean, the coverage will be so poor because right now the test coverage, as I mentioned before,
yes,
so for Indonesia,
yeah,
but
so
but
it would be affected.
it would further investigation to make it real, because that's going to be helpful. We are not sure how long we are going to fully overcome this COVID-19, right?
Yes.
So, thank you, Bu Audrey Chrysler.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you.
Last presenter will be Bapak Andreas Pramudia. So table is yours.
Have a good day, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for the opportunity for us to present our risk with the title Real-Time Monitoring Study for Highway Construction using UAV technology. UAV usually we know as a drone. The background of this research, I will explain. Monitoring is an important part of the project management information system. The purpose of the monitoring is to find out how far the work progresses on the project and whether there are cycles during the project. Problem background, usually it's difficult for us to retrieve the data as a real time. And then number two, how to get the data needs very expensive cost and also the vulnerable error during the monitoring result. Identification problem is number one, how to do the real-time monitoring in very short time and in a low cost, because usually monitoring takes a very long time and also takes a very high cost. Number two is our proposal, the UAV technology, able to solve this problem? And number three, how fast is the ability of the UAV to solve this problem? Four, how productive is the use of UAV technology when we compare to the conventional monitoring method? Objective and benefit of the research: generate the programmatic 3D for the real-time monitoring, and then we compare the UAV technology versus a conventional method in terms of time, accuracy, and cost, and also, of course, about the productivity. Analyze the limit of UAV technology for the real-time monitoring, and the last objective is the benefit. It can be input for the owner, contractor, and supervision team in conducting the real-time monitoring. The scope of the research. We limited the research, and our scope is the observation we carried out on the monitoring landfill work on the Cisumdawu Phase 2 toll road project at Sumedang, STA 22+100 up to 22+275. Number two, primary data is in the form of retrieval data with UAV and observation on conventional method. And number three, use of UAV technology refers to the standard of Prime Minister Transportation PM number 90 of in year 2015. Number four, analysis is carried out by comparing the two methods which refer to the previous research. And number five, secondary data use is assumed to be 100% accurate. Number six, this real-time monitoring process is assumed to be carried out after various soil density tests in the landfill area have been carried out. And the last is assumption of use equipment for 5 years, means we calculate the depreciation of the equipment for 5 years. The hypothesis of the research, we are using the UAV can be shortened time, and also the UAV technology is more economic compared to the conventional method. The use of UAV produce more accurate output data and measurement. Literature review. This is the previous research that correlate and also back up our research. At the end, we want to use the UAV can provide the following benefits, which is time saving, cost saving, increase the productivity, and also 3D data output and high accuracy. Research and methodology. The first thing is we do the preparation, including the flight planning of the UAV and also the ground control reference. And flow number 2 is collecting data. Number 3, post-processing data. And number 4 is output. And the last is the data result. This is the research sites, the toll road of the Sumdawu. As we mentioned before, that we limit our research from SDA 22 up plus 100 up to 22 plus 275, which is in this section, in WICA section. In conventional system cycle, as we know, this is very common. We are using the total scan. We calculate all the data, and then we do the plotting and also do the cross-section. But in UAV system cycle, we're using drone to mapping all the data, all the visual data, and we put in the program, and directly the program can produce the cross-section and also the visual view of the sites. This is a bit comparison between the conventional method and also the UAV method during the data processing result. You can see this one, when we fly with drone, we can capture everything on the ground, and not only the visual view, but all of the data about the elevation and coordinate we also can obtain from the drone. If usually we are using drone only for the hobbies or photography, in fact, we can find it, drone can do many things else. Based on our research, we compare the time consuming between the conventional one and the UAV. For the same section, the conventional almost takes for 8 hours and UAV takes for 5 hours. You can see the detailed data. One is almost the similar data is the data processing, which is this is the unit in second, 16,600 second, and the UAV is 17,700 second. Because we limit the sites, if we believe that we do the bigger site, the conventional one will consume more time compared to the UAV. But in this research, we find out that UAV is reduced around 35% from the conventional. Number 2, the accuracy. Our assumption is the conventional method is the correct one. We compare to the UAV, the volume calculation from the UAV is around 85% from the conventional. So means the error factor is around 15%. One of our limitation is we only put a small number ground checkpoint. We believe that we put more ground checkpoint, the error level, the error factor will be reduced. The comparison of cost, as we mentioned in before that, we using the depreciation of the equipment both is around 5 years. So we calculate, the first is about the calculating capital cost, and the second is the operating cost. The capital cost is almost similar between the conventional one and the UAV. The UAV, we also put the program, and not only the program, but also the equipment, the drone itself. And the conventional, we calculate including the total station. But the operating cost is very high difference between the conventional method and also the UAV method, because of the labor costs in the conventional is consume more labor, but in UAV we can use 1 or 2 engineers to do the UAV. So means as a result, the comparison cost UAV reduce almost 71% comparing to the conventional method. The productivity of comparison in product productivity, the productivity of conventional is around 6.5 square meter per second, but the UAV can do 118 square meter per second. If we compare in this term, means the conventional is very less productive, and the productivity, the productivity of UAV is around 8 times higher compared to the conventional one. We believe that UAV still have a capability limit. The first is about the limited battery power. The second is about waterproof, that if the weather is heavy rain, so we cannot fly our drone. But in the same things in conventional, I know that our surveyor also cannot work during the heavy rain. Number 3, there is need to be verification by conventional method. Back to this one, I want to a bit explain about it. The verification of conventional method means that UAV we can use for the progress checking, daily checking, instead of the surveyor do every time. But for the final progress, for the final checking, I think better we combine with the conventional and UAV. This is the other implementation in project monitoring. We try this one in cut and fill project. We compare between UAV and so the conventional method. So the conclusion of this research and our recommendation. First conclusion is the result is obtained in the of this UAV 3D project, 3D object that the result obtained in the use of this UAV is 3D object that facilitate the monitoring process and its integration in the future BIM system. So next we can combine between UAV itself and also with the BIM. Number 2, the UAV is faster, around 30% compared to the conventional, and the accuracy is less than, is around 85%, means the around 15% is error factor, but the economical terms, we can save more than 71%, and also the productivity level is increased up to 94%. But we know that the limitation of the battery is very limited. It's around 2 hours of flight and not waterproof. So if heavy rain, we have to stop the works. And there is need to be verification by the conventional method. Our recommendation, it needs improvement in the preparation stage of using UAV. There is future research in the further research regarding the use of UAV in other construction field. So not only in the toll road, so we can also do in the building, bridge, dams, and other projects. There is further research by conducting in-depth analysis of other studies such as comparison in measuring damage to the building or other discipline. Okay, this is our presentation, and thank you for your time.
Very knowledge packed in your presentations. Any checker for the questions? Let me check the chat. No one chatted me on that stuff. So again, the question comes from myself. About the incorporating, real-time monitoring study for the highway construction with the UAV, which is very, very sophisticated, and I love that. Do you think? I think what you missed is to what the data content per one run of the UAV, because it hasn't been mentioned, and also in terms of the further use of the UAV, can we use that for a tool to predict like damage, even though the damage is not surfaced yet, but to predict it, because sometimes the highway construction, I don't know what make it, but the asphalt gonna be so cracked. So that's going to lower the speed of the vehicle that pass through. Yeah.
Okay. Let me try to answer, Bu Ika. If we want to do the survey for the crack or damage for the building or toll road, I think we can combine UAV and using the special camera like infrared camera or others, which is the camera can be capture anything about the problem, as long as you know that camera can do also like infrared camera is can do or detect those kind of problems. So if we cannot use the normal camera, but we have to use 2 or 3 types camera. One is infrared camera, and another one is maybe for the conventional one. So we can combine everything, and but the process is different with what we do, we did in our research. But this is a good idea because we know that we can do, but it needs a special drone also because the drone will carry the heavy camera. It's not the normal one. So the equipment is different. That's my point.
Right. And also because you mentioned a lot of the benefit of using UAV instead of that conventional camera and stuff, but still the conventional tools are being used till now. So do you think because we need it, or because we still need that conventional, or because the UAV still need to be improve in terms of maybe data coverage or accuracy?
Okay. For in our research, the conventional usually do every day, and it takes a very long time. But somehow we only need to checking the progress. If we do the conventional one, it takes a very long time. But in the final works, I think we have to do the conventional.
Okay. Right. So I can say that the UFA for short-term use, like for immediate use.
Yes, immediately.
Conventional one.
For the real time, Bu Ika. So every day, our project or every project, especially construction project, the real time monitoring is need of very important. Yeah. Because of besides from quality data, and beside this from about the damage or others. But I think this is our collaboration research with between Bina Nusantara in Andal, and we will to continue our research, joint research, to find the limitation of the UFE, including climate, including weather or camera and so on, and others.
Lovely. Thank you so much, Bu Yulia Stuti and Pak Andreas Pramudia. So we should wrap up now. There were 6 presenters have presented: David Bourne, Maria Serafina Striani, Wahyu Sarjono, Ika Nurlaila, myself, Audrey Chrysler, Ibu Yulia Stuti, and Pak Andreas Pramudia. So how we can close this session, really? Oh yes, the photo session. I return the session to you, really.
We're gonna have
Thank you so much, all the presenters.
Thank you, Bu Ika.
Thank you.
For the amazing moderator, Bu Ika. Now it's the end of today's session. So take another picture, please. Ladies and gentlemen, all participants, turn on your camera so we can take pictures together. Please turn your camera on. Perfect. Miss Maria Dwi, Mr. Alam, Miss Furwome, Supriya, Mr. Wahyu, can you take your camera? Can you put your video on, please? Okay, last call. Okay, thank you, Pak Supriya. I'm gonna take the picture on the count of 3. Prepare your best pose, best angle, best shadow, best lighting. 1, 2, 3. Amazing. You want another picture?
Yeah. Take 10.
Let's take another picture. 1, 2, 3. We did take another picture, but all of you has exactly the same poses. It's okay. Thank you very much. Me along with all the ICOBAR committee's participants, thank you all very much for coming on the first day of the ICOBAR conferences.
Thank you, Pri.
Thank you for the
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Don't forget to
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
check the handbook if you have any other presentation.
Thanks. Bye. See you tomorrow.
Thank you, Brilly. Thank you. Thank you, Wika.
Don't forget to eat lunch.
Yeah.
Oh, yes. Yes.
I mean dinner. Don't forget to eat dinner. It's dinner time. So, thank you very much. Thank you.